Joining us now, KT McFarland, former Deputy National Security Advisor to President Trump. KT is also the author of Revolution, Trump, Washington, and We the People. Okay, KT, I've got to ask you about the town hall last night. How do you think the president handled Samantha Guthrie's interrogation?
It was definitely an interrogation, and I thought he was terrific. You know, as a woman, and I've done a lot of debating in my time, it's a tricky thing when a man debates a woman, because if he's too soft, he looks weak. And if he's too tough, he looks like a bully. Now, I thought he handled that brilliantly. She definitely was a bully, and she kept interrupting him, and she kept asking sort of silly questions, and he would answer them. You know, I reject white supremacy. I reject white supremacy. Let me tell you again, I reject white supremacy. And then she comes back and says, well, you've been a little soft in the past. Come on, she was really trying to bully him and badger him. And it was not a town hall. It was a debate between President Trump and Samantha Guthrie. And I think President Trump won it hands down.
She asked him 40 questions, and she didn't ask a single person in the audience to ask a question for nearly a half hour in an hour event. I want to move on because Biden didn't give the president any credit for the Middle East peace deal. He said, well, a little bit. He said, really nothing to see here. And then he goes and he says that Trump has, quote, pulled out of almost every international organization. That's obviously a lie. Then he seemed to, not surprisingly, sort of give a nod to the United Nations. Didn't we see a little glimpse into the Biden foreign policy in his responses there?
Yeah, because what you saw was that Joe Biden has said they're going to go back into the Iran nuclear deal, which was a disaster for the United States. And President Trump, by pulling out of the Iran nuclear deal, was able to get this peace agreement between Israelis and Arabs, the Abraham Accords. And President Trump was also able to stand up to the Russians. The thing that bothers me the most, Tom, about the Biden foreign policy is for 40 years, he could have stood up to the Chinese. When he was chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, when he was vice president, when the Chinese were clearly embarked on a program to exploit our generosity, to skewer trade deals, to have a skewed tariff relationship, and ultimately to take over the world. And yet he didn't stand up to the Chinese. It would have been easy to do it 10 years ago. Now it's hard. And so now we're supposed to believe the new Joe Biden who says, oh, no, I'm going to be really tough on the Chinese. My worry is that China has every intention to be in the dominant country in the world and rewrite the rules of order of the world within the next 5 years, within the term of the next president. And if that president is Joe Biden, the United States is going to sink slowly into second and third class status, and China will run the world forevermore.
And let's not forget, he dumped bags of cash on a tarmac in Iran. I want to move on and talk about the censorship issue with big tech. I know this is something that is on your mind as well as a lot of Americans. There are new reports that Facebook and Twitter employees just came out today have sent more than 90% of their political donations to Democrats. 90% so far in 2020. We're seeing real censorship and information manipulation here to benefit the left. What needs to be done to stop this pattern of social media putting its thumb on the scale for the progressive left Democrats?
Two things. Sunshine is the best disinfectant. Let's see what they're up to. And secondly, as we have done with monopolies throughout American history, break them up. We had the same problem during the Industrial Revolution with the trust busters, and Teddy Roosevelt, who was president at the turn of the last century, broke up those monopolies. It's the only way you really can be fair to the American people. But it's what they were censoring. It bothers me, is that they were censoring bad stories, not just about Trump, but bad stories about China. And what is the relationship between Facebook, Twitter, big tech in China? The Chinese are already calling the shots for big tech. China censors the access of Chinese people to technology, to social media, and the social media companies, the tech giants, they're going along with it. So this was not just about let's get Trump and let's put our thumb on the scale for Joe Biden. This was also let's put our thumb on the scale for China. That's the dangerous part of it.
Yeah, and are they censoring Russian and Chinese Confederates that are posting on their platforms in an effort to drive misinformation and try to swing the election. And that's probably not happening. Conservatives are getting shadow banned, but are they doing that to China and to Russian agents? Really quickly, I want to just go back to the town hall. George Stephanopoulos completely ignored the issues about alleged self-dealing and the Hunter Biden foreign business connections. So let's talk about the national security implications of a president who sells influence. You say either Biden knew that his son was doing what he was doing, or he went along with it, or he can't remember. All of those are bad choices for the American people. Explain.
If Joe Biden is going to sit down and negotiate with the Chinese, and the Chinese think they've already bought him, then his position, his ability to negotiate a tough deal, which Donald Trump has just been doing, he has no ability to do that. Now, if Joe Biden says, well, I don't know what my son was doing, he's a great businessman, I mean, these were all legitimate contracts, that really is even more upsetting, because he's not. And the fact that Joe Biden took his son on Air Force Two while Joe Biden was negotiating with the Chinese, and Joe Biden's son walks out of China with several $1 million of contracts, the Chinese understand that. That's called bribery. They do that all the time. That's how they do business. And when I was in China, Tom, right before Thanksgiving, during the impeachment trials, and I said, look, I don't think Donald Trump's going to leave office. I think he's going to be reelected. The senior officials I met, they were horrified. They said, no, Joe Biden's going to be the next president. I said, I don't think so. You guys better rethink your strategy.
Well, KT, we always appreciate your perspective here. Thanks for being with us.